Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the channel. My name is Lemorack, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is the latest addition to the Tomb Raider franchise, the closing episode of the brand new trilogy, focused on the origin story of Lara Croft, this time taking us into a South African jungle to continue combating Lara Croft's previously established new enemies, the Order of Trinity. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is, by all means, a good game, by every measure of the definition. It plays well, it performs well. Lara does what you ask her to do when you push buttons. She is a very, responsive character. The game is very well done. It is pretty looking. It provides you plenty of activities to partake in. You can easily get your money's worth in terms of hours of entertainment, if that's what you're looking for. Yet, to be completely honest, coming away from this game, I felt severely disappointed. And really, I shouldn't have, because I set my bar for entry rather low. I was not hoping for too much. And yet, I still ended up falling short. What you need to understand about me to know where this opinion comes from is that having women as the main characters in video games is a selling point for me. I'm one of those people who enjoys it to the point where you can actually convince me to buy a game just based on that fact. And Lara Croft in particular is probably one of my absolute favorite video game characters of all time. Easily my favorite video game woman of all time. So you can understand where I come from that perspective when I talk about her, especially considering that I have played through all of the main games of the past. I've played through the original, let's call it sextology. Then I played through the Legends trilogy, which is where I consider the game to be at its peak. And I've played through the new games also a number of times. And I have realized something that kept me from fully enjoying these games for a while, and I'm sure other people have already voiced this opinion, and that has to do with what has been done to Lara Croft's character herself. And I'm honestly not pleased with what they have done to her. Lara Croft in the rebooted video games is a character devoid of personality. Previous games drew me in pretty much based on the strength of the main character herself, who was a witty, charming, funny character. And it wasn't just that she was badass. It wasn't just that she was a character in a primarily male-occupied role, doing her best and being awesome at it. But the fact that when she took down an opponent, when she was talking over the radio to her compatriots, she always had something funny, something quippy to say, something to lighten the mood, even in the worst of times. And that is nowhere to be seen in this game. And I admit that is not something that is new. I had the exact same problem with the second game, and even the first game to some extent, but I chalked it off in the first game to this being just, we're not there yet. This is supposed to be an origin story. We'll see that Lara turn up by the end of the game. And that's actually what I assumed happened, because in the first game of these reboots, right, Lara's wit did make an appearance every now and then, as just kind of like, an evolving feature. But then I was very surprised in the second game that not only did they, restart the entire thing from the beginning, but they also restarted Lara's personality from the exact same spot, too. And that is even more present here. How little personality she has. It's brought even more into the foreground with one of the game's new features. There are several new social areas added to the game where you are not given any of your weapons, where you have them but you can't draw them, and the idea is to just walk around these villages speaking to people and getting side quests to do, and unlocking the locations of collectibles and the like. But after having done a couple of them, where I had to walk around and talk to people in order to learn about their story and and find things to do. I ended up feeling exactly the opposite way I feel like the game developers wanted me to, wherein they wanted me to be engaged in finding more of this stuff and getting, more of the side stuff done. But by the end of the first couple of conversations, I was like, you know what? I just don't care. Lara's not going to have anything interesting to say to these people. Your stories are, in all honesty, are not that entertaining. They're not all that interesting. And, really, I just want to get on with the main story. I want to see where this goes. I want to see if maybe something along this storyline is going to change, and we're going to see something more of the old Lara come back. Lara in this game shows almost no emotion throughout most of her dialogue. Her reactions to things are like the most stale you can imagine. She has no witty things to say, no quippy voice lines. All just, very straightforward, very simple things. And, her main personality traits here appear to be that she is compassionate and that she is tough. And I'm all for the compassionate bit, but when the only emotion that we ever really see her express is self-deprecation, if she's constantly blaming herself for things, she is sad and distraught, then, that hurts the character at some point. It hurts your experience. Because you don't necessarily want to see that, and we've seen that already throughout the first couple of games, but again, she even had a way of dealing with the self-deprecating nature that she was exhibiting in the first game. A scene pops up to mind where Reyes accuses her of, being the cause of the death of everybody that gets close to her, to which she responds to her, well, then you better keep your distance. That was like a moment when it looked like the old Lara was, in the works, that she was going to show up soon. And, again, we have nothing. We have nothing at this point. Even in the second game, this was a problem, and I feel like I'm in the minority. I've read Steam reviews, I've taken a look at, what people seem to be thinking, and the general responses to me saying this kinds of thing is that this is the best Lara Croft game ever made. And you know what? From a technical standpoint, I actually agree with you. This game has more PC options than any of the Lara Croft games before it. The game experience is super customizable to your comfort level in many ways, which is awesome. The graphics and even the voice acting from some of the characters is A+. I'm glad to see Jonah return again, who was actually one of my favorite characters from the first two games. Speaking of characters, the game actually introduces a number of side characters to the story who are, brand new, and they either get surprisingly little to no screen time, or, they just don't make an impact that the game clearly thinks they're supposed to. Several moments in this game are obviously designed to be super impactful and, make you feel interested, invested, or, pumped or hyped up. And again, just due to the fact that Lara almost never reacts with any sort of weight to anything, it just made me feel entirely uninvested. And because Lara seemed so uninterested in her own adventure, I ended up mirroring that myself. This is something that I feel male video game protagonists have been, and not just video game, but movie protagonists have been a victim of for a long time, is how their personality is almost entirely axed in order to create a cookie-cutter, bland character that most of us can easily project onto. That's something that might be what's going on here. That might be what they've been doing over the past couple of games in order to, make Lara fit that mold as well. But in doing so, I feel like they are giving up on the bits of Lara's character that made the previous games worth playing, in my opinion. And the reason this is particularly sad for me is because gameplay-wise, they've kept all of the important gameplay elements of a Tomb Raider game to make this identifiable as Tomb Raider, right? You have your climbing impossible heights and solving environmental puzzles. You've got your exotic locations. You've got your extra weaponry. You've got your collectibles. You've got your relics, that kind of thing. But I feel like the story writers of this game in particular sort of seem to forget or just don't really realize that Lara has a lot more to her than just being a woman and just, being a badass. There was more to her than that. There was intrigue to her. This is something that even the very first Angelina Jolie movie got right, and you're not going to see me come defending that in very many ways, but the one thing you can't say about that movie is that it wasn't fun. To sort of illustrate exactly how I set myself up for this, I conceptualized two things that I wanted to come true in this game in order for me to be able to come away saying, yes, this was worth it for me, and I enjoyed this. One of those things was I wanted them to just put a gun in her left hand as well. I don't think that that would be straining the programmer's ability too much. The fact that she started out with a single pistol in the first game was, yeah, sure, but it was teased at the end of the first one, you'll remember. And then at the start of the second game, that was just nowhere. I'd given up a long time ago on, bringing back Lara's acrobatic, albeit absolutely impractical and, very likely suicidal combat style, due mostly to the engine's limitations. Even if they wanted to bring it back, they're already kind of married to this whole stealth action combat thing. But I think that adding in a dual wield mode would have been easily within the scope of what could have been accomplished here, and it would have done a lot to pay homage to, if nothing else, to Lara's original, existence. And then the second thing was, I just wanted there to be a total of at least five spoken lines in the game that made me smile. 5 spoken lines from Lara that just brought a smile to my face. A witty one-liner at the defeat of a boss, or her commenting on how easy her next task is going to be when really it's not. Something along those lines, like from the older games. Just something to indicate to me that by the end of this new origin story, we are heading towards where we're supposed to be. And neither of those came true. So I ended up leaving disappointed. The reason this really breaks my heart is because I'll be the first to acknowledge that these games are excellent. All 3 of them are really good in their own matter. I enjoyed the first one very much, the second one a little bit less so, but it was still an amazing game. Beautiful graphics and amazing gameplay. And it's just this bit of it, just this treatment of Lara as a character itself, that I think is keeping it from reaching its full potential as a video game, and I am honestly not really pleased with the direction we're taking with this sort of thing. So I suppose the best thing that I can say to myself is that it's over, that this has been the last of these origin story focused games, and that now that they've gotten the mileage out of the game engine, that the Square Enix's investment into the new game engine is probably paid off. They wouldn't have invested in a new game engine if at least 2-3 games weren't going to be made in it. Now that we're done with it, now we can move forward and we can start again and take a new direction. And I hope that feedback like this from myself and others who think similarly is going to have an impact on it, that they'll take this stuff into consideration and look at that stuff going forward. Because, as I said, I adore Lara Croft. She is my favorite video game character of all time, and I would hate to see her just become another generic stealth action hero, because I don't think we need more of those. Anyway, that's it for me, folks. Thank you very much for listening. If you have views similar or especially different, I would absolutely love to read them in the comments. I'm very curious what you think about this direction we're taking with Lara Croft. See if you think that this is the right direction for her, or that there is more promise here than I can see. Otherwise, just thank you very much for watching. I hope you at least enjoyed hearing my views on this, if you think that I have something of value to say. And I will see you in my next gaming related video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.